Welcome to another episode of One Take Podcast, and this is actually a very special one because it's our top 10 best and worst films of last year, 2021, and I have my friend ThatSamoanGuy with me. Welcome, ThatSamoanGuy.
Thank you for having me again. Uh, can't wait to look back over the mistakes we've made for
Oh,
the year.
well, not just in movies, we made so many mistakes in life that everyone has.
Mhm. It was
Uh,
gonna be a deep podcast
I'm just
today.
kidding. Well, I don't know how deep, but I definitely want to talk about the movies. That's for sure that we have in store
hmm
for for our list here. Before we list off our movies here, did you want to start with the best of the time or the worst of the year first?
Um,
You
I
want?
mean, it's your show. This is your world, and I'm here to just like live in it. I'm down for either one. Um, if you want
Okay.
to start on a positive note, we can. If you want to end on a positive note, debatably though, people are tend to want to know the worst ones more. So for the gentle listener at home, the top 10 worst might be the best. You know what I mean? Like the part that they look for.
Uh,
That's
okay.
their positive. So it's up to you.
Okay, well, I guess, well, in my images here, I do have the best first, so I guess we could go with the best stuff first here.
Cool. Okay.
Um, I guess we'll go through like 10, like I guess number 10 through 1 obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You'll tell me yours and then and then I'll pop up your poster here as well. I have my posters ready, but obviously I don't know your list, so we're doing
Mm-hmm.
this as as live as possible, so I just want
Mm-hmm.
to add your posters as well. So,
Yeah.
let's see here. Let's see. I just want to make sure I have it. Okay. Did you want to start off first on the list, or did you want me to start off my best stuff?
That's also up to you. I'm ready to go. If you want to lead by example, you can, or if
Okay.
you want me to. I will say that my first couple, I don't have a whole lot to say on. It's as we get
Okay.
later on, I'll have more to talk about.
All right. All right. Well, I do want to mention some honorable mentions before we get off to the top 10, because there is
Mm.
some films I do really like that I didn't put on my top 10 that I
Okay.
that I would have, but I did feel like there was other films that I felt were much more meaningful and at least in some
A little,
ways better to me, you
a little
know?
stronger.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I do want to mention some films here. I don't have the posters for them, but I do want to mention Nightmare Alley from Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a very good film from him. It's also
Mm-hmm.
nominated for Best Picture this year as well.
Yeah, I saw
Um,
that.
Bradley Cooper, I actually think this is one of his best roles in my opinion, so
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend it. It's on HBO Max and Hulu if you have one of those. So,
Yeah.
um, I also want to mention Tick Tick Boom from Netflix, which is Andrew
Mm.
Garfield's musical,
Mm-hmm.
directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I thought this was also a very emotional tale, and it's a true story about the Rent creator Jonathan Larson and his life leading
Mm.
up to the events of Rent. Um, it's a lot of tragic stuff that happens in it, but there's also a lot of optimism to it too, in a way. I love Andrew Garfield, and I thought he gave obviously one of his best performances in my opinion, and I definitely think he deserves that Best Actor nomination this year. So I definitely recommend that one.
Okay.
And then I also want to recommend some couple of animated films real quickly. Raya and the Last Dragon and Mitchell's versus the Machines, which I also
Mm-hmm.
really loved both of them. And just Zack Snyder's Justice League, I also want to mention because I personally really like this cut of Justice League better than the theatrical cut we got, obviously. And lastly, I want to mention it was actually number 11 on my list here because I have a letterbox list of films here of my 2021 films, but it was A Quiet Place Part 2 that didn't make it, but it
Oh,
was
gotcha.
just barely did because it was a very great sequel, honestly. I loved A Quiet Place Part 2.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, if we're gonna go honorable mentions, I have a list in front of me, and narrowing things down. I had there were also some things I didn't see too many movies this year. It was hard to make time, but
Yeah.
um, I did enjoy 8-Bit Christmas.
I heard, yeah, I heard about that one.
Not enough to like go out and tell people, like to preach it on the mountain and tell you to go see it, but like cuz there were some things that took me out of it a little bit. But on the whole, like it does take a couple of turns that I didn't expect, and at this point, like I have seen so many movies, I've broken down so many movies, I've really gotten in depth with them, and to be surprised in a movie for me is pretty rare. So
Yeah.
that one took me by surprise a little bit in a couple places, and then I also have Raya and the Last Dragon as a honorable mention for me also.
Yeah, that one was very, very good from Disney as well. I really enjoyed
Hmm.
Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah.
All right. But in that case, I think we can get started with our top 10 of the year so far.
Yeah.
Here we go. So, for my number 10, and this might be a little controversial for some people because I can already tell it might piss some
Ooh.
people off. Number 10 is The Matrix Resurrections.
Mm.
So,
Oh,
I've
okay.
seen so many divisive things about this movie, like so many divisive things on Twitter, on YouTube, on any social media I've seen from my peers. I personally thought while it's not strong in the action department in terms of like the other movies, I still thought the philosophical and messages here were just as strong, if not stronger than the sequels. And I just thought it was so unique, like in its meta aspects. I thought the performances were very good, especially from newcomers like Yaha Abdul Mateen II, who plays the Morpheus in this one. And I thought Neil Patrick Harris actually did a good job as the villain in this one. You saw Matrix Resurrections as well, right?
I did. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh, you have it on your list or no? You don't?
I have wait, for my number 10.
Oh, yeah. What's your number 10 again?
My number 10 is Encanto.
Oh, Kanto. I haven't seen that one
I
yet.
I liked it quite a bit. I appreciate when a movie does not feel the need to add a villain at the last minute or force an antagonist of any kind of way. And there's a metaphorical antagonist in Encanto, but there's not a mustache twirling, scheming Jafar type
Yeah,
villain. The characters have enough on their plates that the movie just kind of lets the everything kind of roll out naturally,
yeah,
which feels nice. It does have a very natural feel to it. Um, the message is nice. Character colors are all nice. I will say also the Encanto kind of made me realize the difference between. I think we've talked about this off to the side before, but just so it's on the mic. Um, Encanto really made me realize, like, wow, modern animated musicals, not just Disney, but modern animated musicals, really are shot and produced like music videos, which is not a bad thing. But in the days of like Beauty and the Beast, Hercules, Aladdin, things like that, they definitely resemble like Singing in the Rain or Broadway musicals a little
like
bit
yeah, I
more.
see what you mean by that, like a more
Which,
grander scale of things.
yeah, and it's all shot from like profiles mostly, which is how you would be looking at a stage. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. And there's always exceptions to the rule. Like I think the Zero to Hero from Hercules is definitely more of a music video than a stage show because it's a montage. But in general, it's just a sign of the times. And I think Encanto was probably the big the like hey the big realization that was the red pill, if we're going with the Matrix analogy, that woke me up to that realization.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen Encanto yet, which is surprising because my family has, and they actually really love Encanto as well.
Yeah.
And they actually can't stop singing the songs like we don't talk about Bruno, obviously.
Yeah.
It's been stuck in my mind now, even though I haven't seen the movie.
I wish you would all stop talking about Bruno. Fuck's sake.
So Encanto number 10 though for you?
Yes, yeah, that's where I'm starting off with.
All right, good start with that one. So number 9 for me is actually a horror film on Shudder. Um, it's
Mm.
called The Amusement Park. Now, this is
Hmm.
actually a lost horror film that wasn't found until recently. It was made by George A. Romero, director George A. Romero, who you might know of zombie fame of from the Living Dead films.
Hmm.
And he did this 60-minute film in 1973, a year before Dawn of the Dead. It actually has some music cues from Dawn of the Dead and sound effects from Dawn of the Dead too, which is funny. So it essentially Dawn of the Dead took the cues from this movie before it because George A. Romero made this, but it was lost for a while. So now it just came out, and I have to say, this was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen, man. Like listen, I can handle a lot of horror things. Like I can handle horror most of the time. But this one, like, for some reason, just got under my skin, and there isn't really that many jump scares any, honestly. It's just the atmosphere and the tension behind it. Like, if you have Shudder, I highly recommend this. It's 60 minutes, it's not even that long,
Hmm.
it's just an hour.
Okay.
George A. Romero is one of the finest directors ever in horror, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah. Well, damn. See, I think I have vaguely heard of that, but I didn't know it was only 60 minutes, and I didn't know that it was mostly like atmosphere and suspense, which is my favorite kind of horror. I like something that creeps into you slowly.
And that's why I absolutely love this film because it's like similar to something like Hereditary, like something that creeps into you like the longer it goes. Like
Mm-hmm.
and then like by the end of it, you feel I felt sad. Like I felt like I wanted to cry in a way
Mm.
because it has a deep message about uh I don't even know how to put this lightly yeah it's a I don't even know if I want to say it really because it kind of
Okay.
spoils the movie too. If you
Sure.
have
Yeah.
Shudder, I just really recommend this, but I just probably just the one time watch though for me, even though
Yeah. Once is enough.
but it is a horror classic and I do think
Okay.
it deserves to be talked about more.
All right. I'm sold.
All right, what's your number 9, man?
My number nine, it kind of rhymes with Encanto. It's In the Heights. I say it rhymes because it's the music is made by the same person.
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda
Mhm.
is just getting in everywhere.
He's making his way up the musical chain, man.
He sure is, yeah. And In the Heights, I knew about it and I'd heard some of the music, but I hadn't seen the show itself. Um, like I said before, I kind of prefaced I don't have a whole lot to say about my first few on my list. There wasn't anything about it that stood out to me as being bad or fantastic. Just all around kind of solid. All the foundations of it are pretty good. The music's great, the choreography's good, acting is good. Just kind of checking down the list of like, yeah, yeah, no, that all works.
Checks out a good
If
musical.
yeah, if you want a solid modern day musical, I mean that's not a bad way to go about it.
I actually did see In the Heights as well. I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
include it in my list. It was kind of like in the middle tier of my lists of the year. It was
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable, but I didn't think it was honestly that memorable compared to Hamilton, at least in my opinion.
Oh yeah. No, I would agree with that 100%.
It's still well made, like I agree with you there, but like I
Sure.
don't think it's as good to me, in my opinion at least, to me as Hannibal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I would agree with that.
So yeah, you have anything else to say about In the Heights, by any
No,
chance?
not really.
Not really.
It's no, they're like it's kind of like I mean, you I wouldn't go so far as to say that it wasn't unmemorable, but I do have a hard time remembering specific things about it that really got to me. It was just an all around like, yeah, that's a goodie. That's a solid like 7 out of 10.
Solid 7 out of 10 indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is funny because like all these films I have on my top 10 are actually like 4.5 to like 5 stars and above that I think are just like amazing and stuff like that.
Well, you're inhuman. You see every
Yeah,
movie under the sun.
yeah.
You'll notice as once we get done with our list, you're gonna notice like, wow, Caleb, like 8 of these came to like streaming services. Did you ever leave the house? The answer is no.
Well,
No, I did not.
I've included some that were on streaming services and theaters in a way. So yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Well, my number 7 was a theater movie. It did come out for one day to rent
Wait,
on streaming.
are we on 7 or 8?
8. Sorry, number 8. My
Okay.
bad. I think I said 7 by mistake. Number 8 for me was The Green Knight.
I wanted to see that so bad.
Oh, The Green Knight is a visual, stunning masterpiece of a
Okay.
film. Like, it is gorgeous to look at all the way through. It is. Dev Patel's also just a very talented actor, in my opinion.
Hell
So
yeah.
I just think he's amazing in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying the cinematography. I'm so pissed off this didn't get nominated for best cinematography, man. Like, I'm so pissed off because like this could have easily squeezed in there as for a cinematography nomination. Cause oh my god, the visuals of this film is gorgeous. And it builds up like similar to like a good A24 film because I just like films that take their time to explain the story rather than just rush through things
Yeah.
because this film takes its time and that might not be for everyone, sure, but
Yeah.
I personally like that stuff. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
to see stuff that is explained well enough to keep my attention, and this film kept my attention all the way through.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was really bummed I didn't get a chance to get out to see it. Um, Instead, for my number 8, I have Shang-Chi.
Oh, okay,
um,
Shang-Chi.
I have it kind of low on the list only because the third act for me kind of drags. I think I felt like the pacing for it pittered out, and then the movie just kind of stops. But everything up until that point was pretty much exactly what I wanted, and then just a fraction bit more. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Simu Liu in the lead is like he's perfect. I now cannot see that role being anybody else. There's actually a semi-interesting villain, maybe not the most interesting Marvel villain, but a semi-interesting one.
Still more interesting than
And
most.
yes, more than most, and a lot of people did like Thanos as a character after in the Avengers films. So following up with that can be kind of tricky. And like I said, he's not top tier, but he's interesting enough. He kept things going. And I also really appreciate that we didn't have a forced love interest with
Oh
our two
yeah.
leads. I
Mhm.
appreciate the just like no, it's just enough. They can love each other like friends or however they're meant to be. It doesn't have to be a romantic thing. It's fine. So, yeah, I did thoroughly enjoy Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, I also want to give an honorable mention to. It was in my top 20 of the year, at
Yeah.
least. I didn't put it in top 10 because I did think there were some other superhero films, in my opinion, at least, that were better. Um, but
Hmm.
but Shang-Chi is still in my top 10, at least in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, because I
Hmm.
really did enjoy it too. Like it was very enjoyable. The action
Yeah.
was well shot.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't edited crazy like most films. I could
Which
actually
we're gonna talk about that again later,
Oh
by the
boy, we're
way.
gonna definitely talk about that later. But yeah, the action was what's the director's name? Because he's a new director too.
Hmm.
I think his name is Dustin Desmond or something like that, or something like. It has three D's in his
Yeah, I
name.
was gonna say there's an alliteration, so that
Yeah,
probably
all
that
this
sounds right.
three D's. You did a great job directing this film, like with the action, man. Keep
So,
doing your job with Shang-Chi too.
yeah.
All right, number seven now. Number seven. I think
Yes.
number seven for me is a Netflix film, and that
Mm.
is The Harder They Fall.
Mm.
I loved westerns, so I love westerns like The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and
Yeah.
like Unforgiven, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So
Tombstone. Yeah.
Tombstone, Django Unchained, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this film was a real treat to watch because oh my
Okay.
god, this was so good. It was the performances, the cinematography, the set design. The villains actually have meaning to them. Like it was a blast from start to finish to watch The Harder They Fall. There's literally a scene that I wish I could just say it because like it's so hilarious. Like
Hmm.
you'll notice it once you see it, but it's a joke in a town and it has like it has like a big title in front of it and it's so freaking hilarious once you see it. Like it's one of my favorite westerns I've seen of the recent decade, and honestly, like the director James Samuel is a new director.
Mm.
Fuck,
Cool.
he can do he can direct, man.
All right. All right. I think I've heard of it actually. I watched Red Letter Media doing a wrap up of movies, and I think I think Mike mentioned a Western that had come out recently.
This
That might
might
have
be
been it.
it then, because this was one of the westerns I remember seeing, other than probably The Power of the Dog that I heard of. But this film was so good. Like, it was so entertaining. Idris Elba, who will definitely I'll mention later on too, gives one of his best performances here as well.
Mm.
Uh,
All right.
I highly recommend it if you haven't seen The Harder They Fall on Netflix.
I do love a good. I love Western and samurai films. Like, they're pretty similar, but yeah, I could get into that.
Like Cowboy Bebop? Like the anime Cowboy Bebop.
For those that can't, because that's not what I thought of. I thought of the Netflix one. For those of you at home that can't see my face, the second he said like Cowboy Bebop, my eyes like
Rolls
rolled
for a
back into
minute.
my head like Beetlejuice. Like, anyway,
Seven. What's your seven pick?
my number seven is the Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay.
I that one edged out over Shang-Chi just because it was. I think the Suicide Squad is now my favorite example of how you can tell a director is having fun with the movie that they're making. You can just kind of tell, especially if you contrast it to other movies which are made for like licensing or property rights. The Suicide Squad has like life injected into pretty much every shot, every scene in it. The chemistry between the characters is superb. It's very different than the Avengers, which is probably what it should be, but it does have kind of like that other side of the coin feel to it. Um, Everybody does a good job. I like that the movie itself almost kind of feels like a character. Um, yeah, it kept me engaged the whole way through, and the action is really great. I actually like that they use action as like setups to jokes, which I appreciate quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about more about Suicide Squad because I actually do have it on my list here. Spoiler
Cool.
alert. But yeah, we'll definitely get to it later on with my
Okay.
with my time with it. But I
Absolutely.
but I will mention my number six now. My number six is a foreign film actually that
Mm.
probably not a lot of people have talked about, but I've seen some people talk about it on film Twitter, and that is Riders of Justice. I'm not
Hmm.
sure if you've even heard of this either, but
No, doesn't ring a bell.
it's by the it's starring Mads Mikkelsen,
Oh,
who's
okay.
and fucking incredible. He was
Uh
probably
huh.
it probably gives out my favorite performance ever from him in this film.
Okay.
Um, it's a Danish film. It's where he's from. So it's directed by the guy that did one of his films called The Hunt, is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that that was really good. But I just love Mads Mikkelsen so much, and this film is just what surprised me. Like I don't even know how to describe it completely, but it's hard to describe honestly. But what I can describe it as, it's a very dark thriller comedy in a way. Like there's a lot of like comedic moments. It's actually really funny in a lot of the moments it's supposed to be funny, but there's a lot of sad and tragedy in it too. In
Mm.
it.
Okay.
But it's also very there's also action in it, and the action is like super well directed too. And you can see Mads Mikkelsen doing all of his stunts pretty much, I think. So, yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it even if you're a fan of especially if you're a fan of Mads Mikkelsen.
No, yeah, that's definitely me. Ever since um not Battle Royale. What am I trying to say? Casino Royale.
Casino
Very
Royale.
different movies. Yeah, ever since Casino Royale, he was kind of on my radar. What are we on 6?
Number 6.
Okay. My number 6 is I won't be able to talk too much about it just because we'll approach or we'll crouch into spoiler territory. But I have Last Night in Soho as my number 6.
Oh, okay.
This is a big jump in in quality, I guess, or demographic in my list. I'm a sucker for that era, the '60s era, in a lot of things. Seeing it uh, every time I see it with like high budget quality, I just can't help but fall in love with the movie. But I also like. I don't think this is Edgar Wright's best movie. I think it's close. I think the writing could use a little tightening in just a couple places. Not any big deal. Um, and kind of like what you said earlier, a movie taking some time, being kind of a slow burn, may not be everyone's cup of tea. And I think Last Night in Soho, especially compared to like, you know, previous movies that Edgar Wright has done, I think it's definitely, you have to be a little more patient with it. It's not immediately apparent what the movie is doing, like what it's kind of going for. If you have the time and patience to sit down, I think that people would like it. But I get you may have to pass on it a couple times to be in the right frame of mind. But I think it's totally worth it.
I also saw this film in theaters as well.
Mm,
I agree it's not Edgar Wright's best film.
mm,
But I can say I was definitely thoroughly enjoyed by it. Like I was super intrigued all the way through.
yeah.
Like you said, if the writing just needed a little tightening, I feel like it
Hmm.
could have been his best. Like this is
Yeah.
definitely one of his most gorgeous films I've seen in terms of cinematography. Like, whew,
Yeah.
he d
Definitely.
he, like I keep saying about Edgar Wright, I love this man, and he directs the hell out of every film he does. Like,
It's
he,
I feel like he almost kind of like I know he's a human being. I know he's not a machine, but I feel like sometimes like in order for like he has to be on set, and it's like he is looking at things and he's already thinking about what it looks like behind a lens. You know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
already has cinematography and editing in mind, which is I mean it shows.
yeah, and also like all of his films just feel different. Like they feel different from one another. Like
Yeah.
you can say one thing about like other directors like Christopher Nolan. They do like or something like let's say like
Michael
fucking
Bay.
Michael Bay. Like they have
Yeah.
similarities in their styles. Edgar Wright
Mhm.
doesn't. He's very different in his genres and styles, and that's
Mhm.
why I appreciate him more and more as a director. Cause I'm just like, yeah,
Mhm.
you know how to direct a film.
He sure does. In his
And
own way.
yeah, in his own way. And I definitely enjoyed Last Night in Soho as well.
Mm. All right, what you got?
Before we get to number five, actually, I'm just gonna take a quick break real quick because I just need to let my cats out of the room. They're
Okay,
begging
go
to
for
get
it.
out. I'll be right back real quick. Okay, the cats are out now.
Yay.
They're finally
Kitties.
good. All right, so number
Yeah.
five. Number five. Yeah, we're at the top five now, aren't we? Ooh.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right, so this is definitely gonna be a big nostalgic one. Number five is Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Okay.
I, man, I loved this one. Like, it, if you, I don't want to get too much into the 2016 one because I feel like it's kind of mean-spirited nowadays to go into the 2016 ones and criticizing it comparing to this
Yeah,
one.
and we're all kind of done with it. Like we it feels like beating a dead horse with
Yeah,
another
I
dead
don't mean
horse.
to
Like
compare again, but I will say Ghostbusters Afterlife was so much better than
okay. Yeah, all right.
2016. Like I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. Like it made me cry so many times. It made me happy so many times. Like it handled nostalgic moments very well too, unlike Star Wars. You know, sorry, I had a little lump in my throat there. Um, uh, but Ghostbusters Afterlife was beautifully done. Jason Reitman, who's the director of Ivan Reitman, who sadly passed away recently, rest in peace, Ivan Reitman.
Mhm.
He directed this very, very well, and he also directed Juno, Jason Reitman. So I mean, he's a great director ever since then. And so Ghostbusters Afterlife, yeah, it touched my heart for me.
Aw. I didn't know you had a heart. Just kidding. I'm just
Somewhat.
kidding.
When I do have one,
And they say that his heart grew.
three sizes that day.
Yeah, they did. Well, cool. My number five. All right, so you kind of started out with a controversial choice. I saved mine for the halfway point.
Okay.
Not ever because this is one that's definitely gonna be on a lot of people's worst lists.
Oh.
But I don't care. My number five is Malignant.
Oh,
Listen, like, is it completely ridiculous and just loses its shit? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I like in movies? When they take a hard left turn into what the shit and just completely own it. It actually kind of reminds me of not visually, but it reminds me in spirit of Death Proof
oh
and
yeah.
Planet Terror because
Grindhouse.
all three, yeah, Grindhouse movies, because all three of those movies know exactly what sort of movie, what era of film that they are paying homage to, while still being like their own original idea. And while Planet Terror and more so Planet Terror than Death Proof, definitely leaned into like the visual gimmick to be like a crowd pleasing kind of thing. Malignant definitely plays it closer to the chest.
Mhm.
And for some people, that's a little too close to the chest. It being a very like a huge love letter to like really grimy exploitation type arrow type movies, especially with the opening. I think the opening scene of that movie should immediately tell you what sort of movie you're getting into.
Mhm.
I do think a little bit. There were some parts where I was like, why does this feel like a Mortal Kombat cutscene? Like, why is this so grotesque? Like, I have a strong stomach, but there are some parts where I'm like, that felt really unnecessary. But I guess that's kind of the point of an exploitation movie is that it leans really hard into it. And I honestly can't say that I didn't like have a good time watching it.
James Wan, baby. James Wan.
Yeah, James Wan.
Like, I man, that jail scene though?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And another thing too is that like everybody talks about it afterward, whether you love it or hate it. Everybody like has something to say about it. I'm like, see, that's a good sign. That's a sign you did it right.
And hey,
And there are some really cool like I love some of the bird's eye shots in the house where it's almost like you're watching when she's running through her home. It's almost like watching a rat in a maze
also
running through things. There's
there's
really cool
yeah,
creative stuff.
there's practical effects in a major horror movie too. So it's like it's nice to
Yeah,
see that.
thank God.
James Wan directs the hell of a horror movie, so I mean,
Yeah.
you're always in for a treat with any James Wan film, I feel like.
Yeah, I was pretty glad to see that he has something else up his sleeve other than just regurgitating Saw-esque movies over and over again.
Or
Or more
Insidious.
what's that? Yes, yeah, more of Insidious.
Or The Conjuring, yeah. He also did The Conjuring, so.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm happy to see him doing something
Different?
different. Yes.
It's definitely different. It may not be
Mhm.
my favorite of his, but it is different and I liked it.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Number four now? Number four? Yeah. Oh,
Did
okay.
you do number 5?
I did do it was Ghostbusters
Oh,
Afterlife.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, 4.
Suicide Squad. Yeah,
Cool.
so we were just mentioning this for year number seven.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie, even probably
Mm.
more than you did. I was such a disappointment about the first Suicide Squad movie from 2016. It was so disappointing. So to see this actually be the opposite of that, it's like
Yeah,
the
it's like getting a shit stain out of somebody else's underwear. Like it's just so much. Oh my God, I can see what it's supposed to be.
like it's like you have that. It's like having a good lunch. Like you just have that bad lunch and then you have that good dessert at the end. You know.
Mm-hmm.
The Suicide Squad was definitely that dessert. It was colorful. It was funny. It was it was very action packed. It had a lot of blood and gore in it. Oh my god, like
Yeah.
so much blood in it. Probably even more so than the Mortal Kombat movie. I'm just kidding.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
But I loved Suicide Squad. James Gunn knows how to direct superhero movies as well, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very happy with this film. Like, and John Cena. is surprisingly really good in this too. Like he gives one of the
Mm-hmm.
best performances I've seen from him yet.
You know what I'm also really glad about is that it didn't just turn into a rated R Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy.
exactly. It's a different movie. It's so different.
Yeah. He
The
actually like leaned into each character's unique thing and used that to craft the movie. He
mhm.
didn't just use it like literally he didn't just, placeholder with the same
And all the
archetypes.
characters actually get development, which is actually
Yeah.
surprising
Yeah.
for a character ensemble.
Yeah.
I love the Suicide Squad. I have nothing more to say on it.
Mhm.
What's your number four?
My number 4 is the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Ah, ha 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 ha! I mentioned
Uh,
that one.
yes. And I know that this is actually kind of competing with, or not kind of, it actually is competing with Encanto for
Best Picture.
for best animated
Oh, best
picture.
animated picture. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, along with a few others. And I actually like I really kind of it goes back to what I was saying earlier where like I've seen so many movies at this point that like I can kind of pinpoint writing archetypes or character archetypes or I can see when they're setting up something. And for the most part, figured the movie was going to end on a positive note, but the whole journey through, I was curious how they were going to go about it, like what steps were going to be taken in what ways. So, and especially for a kids film, where I mean, we've literally been watching kids movies since we were kids, so we have a lot of experience with
Yeah.
them. They've even kind of crafted our minds to some degree. Um, for this one to take me by surprise, yeah, it was definitely one of the more memorable animated movies that I saw of the year.
It was also by the Spider Verse team, which is great, man.
And
Like,
it definitely shows because it's definitely crisp without being too like busy. It don't you don't feel visually overloaded, which is nuts because when you really break it down, you're like like if you look at Spider-Verse, you're like there's a lot of stuff happening. It's very dense, but at the same time they frame it in a way that it's not too overstimulating, and when it is, they back off.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's touch and go.
I, yeah, I personally, uh, love this movie too. Even though it didn't make my list, I still really, really liked it a lot.
It's solid, yeah.
Like,
And again, like I wish I had seen. I have a list of things that I was trying to catch up on just for today, and I just was not able to get through it all. So I went with what I was able to see. And Mitchell's versus the Machines is on Netflix. So
oh, yeah. So, the first like 10 minutes of this movie alone like got me emotional. You know, like the camera scene. Do you remember that one?
yep, yep, that definitely got to me too a little bit.
Mhm. Whew.
Definitely don't have any kind of similar memories of my own. No, it's fine. Shut up. I'm not crying.
Like it's similar to Up, where it just gets you the emotion in the first 10 minutes.
Yes, maybe not quite as dramatically, but yes, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, same kind of thing. They
yeah.
definitely get your attention.
Mitchell's vs. Machines, highly recommend since it's on Netflix. Mm.
Yeah, easy watch.
Mhm. All right, we're into the top
Moving on up.
three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Top three, baby. All
Hmm. I
right,
have a feeling. I have a feeling there's gonna be some common ground here.
maybe, but
Yeah.
you might be surprised with some picks here.
Okay. All right.
So my number three, I saw this in theaters. I actually traveled really far to go here to see this film. I traveled 30 miles with my sister to see this film
Oh
since it was
damn.
limited release.
Oh damn.
But I thought it was absolutely worth it, at least to me, because it's in my top three now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza.
Hmm.
Um, so to be frank, I haven't
Mm-hmm.
really seen a Paul Thomas Anderson movie other than maybe a few um, clips and definitely some of There Will Be Blood and
Mm.
um, Punch Drunk Love is the other one.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this is technically the first Paul Thomas Anderson film I saw without with that like fully, like completely all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I love the style. I love the character writing. I love. It just feels like realistic. Like it doesn't feel like it's Hollywood, you know? Like it
It feels
doesn't.
very natural.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like the actors he chose even Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman, they're the main stars of the film. Alana Haim
Hmm.
is actually from a indie band called the Haim Sisters. Well, they're actually pretty big now in the UK too. This is her first movie role, and Cooper Hoffman. This is also his first movie role. He's the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman. May he rest in
Hmm.
peace. Who
Yeah.
also worked on a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson films. So to see Cooper Hoffman technically reunite with his father's like director friend is honestly pretty nice to see in a film like this. And
Yeah.
this is one film that I definitely loved. It's a type of coming of age film where I can like thoroughly be entertained all the way through and not be bored by it. It's so funny too. Oh my god, this is probably the funniest movie I've seen all year, honestly, because there, there's a scene. Bradley Cooper's in this film as well. We mentioned Bradley Cooper earlier with Nightmare Alley,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
he's
Now I know the movie you're talking
yes,
about. Yeah.
he's not in it that much, but when he's in it, oh my freaking god, is he hilarious in this movie, man?
All right.
Like I know I said Nightmare Alley is his best role, but in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like his scenes, this might be my favorite scenes of him though. Like
Okay. I
he's
gotcha.
so funny in this movie. Once it comes out on rental or something, I highly recommend Licorice Pizza. I know it didn't really play out too much in theaters,
Yeah.
but I do recommend it.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing about Paul Thomas Anderson movies. Is that they tend to not run for very long, unfortunately.
You've
Um.
seen any though? Like you've seen any Paul Thomas Anderson films?
Yeah. My friend the real Kyle actually is a big fan of his work. He's kind of run me through. I actually what was that first one you mentioned?
Uh, There Will Be Blood.
Yeah. That was actually the first one that I saw, and he had to like duct tape me to the chair because I can't handle really long movies, and it's even worse if I can feel their length.
Mhm.
And when he told me that the movie isn't really like about, well, it's about thing. All of his movies are about things,
Yeah.
but they all like they don't have like a typical three-act structure. It's more so about setting up, like he establishes your characters and the setting and then just kind of lets them do their thing. So that was kind of a hard sell, but I gotta be honest, I was like, all right, well, I guess I can look into more of these movies if they're all gonna be kind of like this. And I know the one you're talking about. I've seen trailers for it. Because it isn't exactly a romance. It's
Not
more about
exactly.
just two people. Yeah,
No, it's more or less two people growing up in the 60s and 70s together.
yeah. Just kind of like passing
It's time passing, and it's
time
like,
passing.
and
Yeah,
that's what I like about it. It's not a typical film like that.
yeah.
It's
I have seen. I think Paul Thomas Anderson did The Master,
Mhm.
and I know he did Boogie Nights, which I haven't seen in a long time, but I have seen that. And like you said, you mentioned Punch Drunk Love. I've seen that one also.
Yeah, I want to see The Master though, because I heard that's one of his best films too.
I'm eager to talk about my number three.
All right, what's your number three, man?
My number three is Pig.
Oh, okay.
Number three is Pig, man. You,
Alright.
if you wanted to watch John Wick, but you don't like action movies, watch Pig.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to see, so okay, this was also I was telling Mary about this. I think because everyone waffles on Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has this huge debate about like he is the worst actor I've ever seen, and then they'll pull up clips and you'll be like, yeah, that's pretty terrible. But have you seen this though? And they'll pull up clips of him like giving some of the most memorable performances you'll ever see. So I think what it is just it just comes down to if he gives a shit or not. If he's doing something to blatant like I need a paycheck, I gotta then that's how you get Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
But then there's Pig where like he gives like one of my favorite. I think it's one of his favorite performances I've ever seen in my life. Where like it's he gets so much across. Just that scene with the chef in the middle of the day. He gets so much emotion off of you watch him looking at a person and he's not doing anything else. He's just looking at somebody. And I'm getting so much off of him already. He hasn't even said anything yet. And then he waits just long enough to say the simplest thing, and somehow it just hits you right across the face, and it's just the perfect way. And like the movie itself is very well done also. It's not just held up by Nicolas Cage, but I think that it came out at the right time also, because I mean I saw it, we're in 2022 and I've managed to see it, but when it came out in 2021, I could definitely see how its message of finding something that you treasure, that you value, having that something that you really like are passionate about uh, in the time that we're in, I could definitely see how that would resonate with people. And it's not blatantly in your face either. It's a pretty subtle movie. And even with it being only like what, an hour
It's only an hour and
25?
20 minutes long. Yeah.
Yeah, somehow like so little happens, and yet I feel like I went through a lot with it. So yeah, Pig definitely stands out to me as being like a winner of the year.
I I also saw this film with my mom. It was an emotional journey, man. Like just to watch this film, because
Yeah.
we it's tough too because like yeah, it's also about passion, but it's also
Hmm.
about loss, and it's like
Yeah.
and it's just so like I personally think Nicolas Cage was robbed of a Best Actor nomination for this because
Yeah.
he gave his
Yeah.
one of his best here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like he was incredible in this film, and also his co-star what's his name again? Frick, he was from Hereditary. Alex Wolff is also just as good as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, you
Um,
can almost kind of argue that Nicolas Cage isn't even the protagonist of the movie. You could very well make a point that uh Wolf's character technically went more through of an arc than, I mean, I don't know if I'd agree with that, but someone could make the case that it's more just as much about Wolf's character as it is about Nicolas Cage's character.
mhm. And like you said, the director did an amazing job. Like cinematography was gorgeous in this film.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
this was his first film. Like this, he never done anything before.
Are you kidding me?
No.
God. Well, I'm all right. Well, I'm adding them to my list of people to watch then to keep an eye out
Well,
for
you
because
definitely want to
yeah,
keep your eye out for him because Michael Sarnowski is his name, and his next film is actually A Quiet Place. So, a Quiet Place spin-off.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm super into that shit.
Yeah, I didn't include it on my list, but I definitely liked Pig a lot. It's an honorable mention as well for sure. 'Cause, it was quite the watch. I definitely appreciated it.
Yeah, I will say, like, kind of like with Last Night in Soho, if you're not in the mood
Yo, don't
for
watch
something
it.
slower or kind of sad, yeah, you might walk away hating it. You gotta pick your moments, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, if you have the time and patience, it's not even that long either. But if you just have the patience,
No,
it's
that's
not
the
even.
other thing. Last Night
Uh,
in Soho is like 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, but Pig
it's
is
an hour
only an hour
20.
and 20. It's like the
It's so
perfect
funny
runtime.
because like my friend, I have a friend that talked about this film as one of their favorites, and they were like, "Man, Pig, why does films have to be 3 hours when Pig examined the beauty of life in an hour and 20 minutes?"
I like that. That's good. I might steal that. That's mine now.
And trademarked.
Yeah, trademarked.
All right, so number two. Number
Yeah.
two. All right, so for me, this was definitely it was definitely one of my favorite theater experiences as well this year.
Okay.
Watching this film, Because
Okay.
watching this film in IMAX in the IMAX screening was like a football stadium, like it was being in the Super Bowl, and that is Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Guess what? My number two is
It,
also Spider-Man No Way Home.
we can both talk about it then.
All right,
With
let's just circle jerk each other. How good was that movie?
oh my god.
Right?
Oh my god. Like, if you're a Spider-Man fan, just a casual even Spider-Man fan,
Mm-hmm.
there's something to love here. Like, even.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is something to love here for everyone
Yeah.
of every Spider-Man generation.
Yeah.
I I could not get enough of this film. Like, man, like I watched it 3 times in theaters and I still loved it even then. So like that should go to show how much
Mm-hmm.
of a mastercraft this superhero film is in terms of the
Yeah.
SAU.
It reminds me like if we're gonna kind of piggyback off of Pig from before, a chef has to use like the perfect amount of each ingredient. It can't just be like, oh, well, it's a good ingredient, so you can't have too much of it, right?
Mhm.
No, if you really want to nail it, if you really want to bring someone to their knees with how good of a thing you're making, No Way Home definitely reminds me of that because like all of the elements in play, it would be so easy to just lean super hard into it and just do more and more. But they have such good restraint and they still like have a focus on like, well, no, but it is supposed to be, especially with the ending, like the last scene or two. It's like, well, no, the movie is still about this. We can't get swept up in all of the extra things. And I really appreciate that safe crackers touch, you know?
And like all the and like yes, like the story is like still strong even with all the references and Easter eggs throughout.
Yeah,
Like, and even with the Easter eggs and references, they all feel earned throughout. Like, it's all
they do.
earned. Like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I guess we could spoil it at this point. I feel like a lot of everyone has seen it at this point, or like at some. Well, we don't. I guess we shouldn't spoil too much of it, but I guess we could spoil
Yeah,
what
because
would.
then we can talk a little bit about it, but if we start
Yeah.
getting into spoilers, this will turn into like a 3 hour
Yeah,
podcast.
it would. And I guess we could say what happens in the marketing. I have the new posters here.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's
I
fair.
do want to say, like, I want to mention Willem Dafoe is absolutely incredible in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's always been good, but like he has such a presence of mind to what world he's in. Like what the
Mm-hmm.
project is, what it is to other people, what it is to the other like cast members. And he always somehow manages to like he's the perfect malleable form to take like because he was just in the lighthouse not a couple years ago, but now here he is hamming it up again as Green Goblin, but then he also at just the right time, it's like he has the pace of the movie figured out in his head already. At just the right time when it needs to be, he can switch on a dime to completely like sinister and
Yeah.
genuinely intimidating.
Like, and what's the most amazing thing too I heard from this says that he did all of his own stunts as well as the
Mm-hmm.
fight scenes, and that's
Yeah.
just like he's 70 years old and he's still doing this shit, and it's like that's how dedicated this man is as an actor.
It's not a pride thing. It's important to him because he wants to really because the actions dictate the character's emotions and what they're going through. It's not just chop socky high like kung fu because it looks good. It's because it's something the character needs to do. So he wants to do it. And that's so fucking cool. It's so cool. I can't even look at you right. I can't even look well, I can't because I'm looking at a monitor. But I can't even look directly at you. And that same kind of dedication comes through in like the writing, the framing, the pacing. It's a long movie, but it doesn't feel that
It
way.
doesn't feel long at all. Like I watched it and I felt like it was. I wanted to go again. It's like a roller
Uh-huh.
coaster.
I'm really sensitive to long movies, but I didn't feel that length at all. I also the the one part where they I mean it's like you said they earn the Easter eggs to the point where they don't even feel like Easter eggs. It just feels like good writing.
Mhm.
But they did pick a couple of moments and that you definitely get to the scene of of just like I fight this big stupid rhino man. No, man, you're not you're
Uh,
great. we love you. That just comes out of your hand, like that whole thing. I was like, I can't get enough of this. I
I
need more
know.
of
I
this.
want more. I want more. And that's why I love this movie so much, and I was super happy seeing it in the theater multiple times.
I
And
will say this: there is one thing that I hard disagree with you on.
what's that?
The movie is like an 8.5 out of 10. Seeing the movie in the theater, 2 out of 10. I hated my audience for
Oh
this
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah.
I hated, like, it had been a while since I had done like and maybe this is my fault. I went to a midnight screening, opening night of the movie, out in a crowd, and not in like the reclining, you're closed off from everybody else kind of seats, just regular ass, like frugal seating, you know?
Yeah.
And like, boy, people wouldn't shut the hell up. They wouldn't stop standing up in front of me. That's the big one for me. I'm like, listen, I get excited and I shout at this at the screen, right?
Yeah.
There was a certain character who makes an appearance early on in the movie and then kind of disappears for a while. I freaked out. I had no idea they were going to be in there. But I stayed in my seat because otherwise I would be blocking the people behind me from
I
seeing
also
the cool thing.
yeah, I also stayed in my seat the time too, but there oh
You're a
man.
mature adult, that's why.
But there's so many people that were just like
Uh-huh.
oh
And I
man.
get, like I said, I understand being excited. Stay in your seat. Be an adult. Okay, that's my PSA.
But Spider-Man No Way Home, two thumbs up. Two thumbs up for us.
Yes. Yeah, the movie's fantastic.
Two thumbs up from us. It's
Yeah.
all right. So we're down to the wire. We're down to the
Mm-hmm.
number one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, do you have anything else to say before number one here?
No, let's just do it. Let's just get it
All
out there.
right. Well, my should I say my number one then already?
Yes.
My number one is Dune.
It's Dune for me too.
All right. So we get to
I knew
talk
it. I was
about
like, I mean,
Dune for both of us.
yeah, we do.
Okay, so let me
Yeah.
just actually clear this out real quick. I'm gonna clear out
Okay.
all the images here,
Oh, the poster stuff. Okay.
all the posters before we talk about Dune here. So goodbye, guys. You guys were all great movies, but we're gonna talk about our number one now. Okay, Dune. Dune. Wow.
Like,
Oh,
I don't even know. I can't pick one thing about it that stands out to me. I just remember forgetting that I was in a movie theater watching a movie. And that I think is kind of ultimately what I'm looking for. I just need to care and I need to be invested. I need to not check my watch every couple of minutes.
I I watched this also on IMAX, and I was just swept away from the first
Mhm.
shot alone to the end. It
Mhm.
was the sci-fi epic I was hoping for from Denis Villeneuve and more. That I'm, oh my God, like how can I praise this film even more? Like, man, like this film like is just sci-fi perfection to me. Like
It is.
this is what
Yeah.
sci-fi should be to me, and
Yeah.
like Denis Villeneuve is just the perfect director for this type of genre. Like Blade Runner 2049, Alone, freaking Arrival. Yeah, man, like this man knows how to direct a film. Like,
I I want to get the one thing in the movie that bugged me out of the way. And like it doesn't even deserve to take the movie down. Like the movie for me is a 10 out of 10, but this one thing doesn't even deserve to take it down to a 9.9. But the scene when Duncan dies is treated like with absolute no gravitas at all. And the movie has been hyping up like, oh man, I had a dream
uh,
that you were gonna die. And he's all like, I don't worry about it, man, it's not gonna happen. And like, you know it's gonna happen because they just told you that it
it
was.
was gonna
And then
happen.
when it happens, it's such a just like it's such an emotional blank. It's such a dead point. I'm just like, I mean, why did you even bother hyping it up if you weren't gonna deliver on it in some kind? It didn't even seem like it bothered the characters, but it's fine.
It's funny 'cause
Um,
like in the David Lynch movie, it's even less
mhm.
eventful than that.
It's even somehow even less eventful, if you can believe it.
What do you have to say about Dune? You have a lot to add about
First
Dune.
of all, I am glad. I'm disappointed I didn't get to see it in IMAX, but I am glad that I still saw it in the theater because the scope of oh, I just spit on my mic. The scope
Yeah.
of the movie has such a strangely it's kind of like you said about how it's like perfect sci-fi. It has such a strange alien quality to some of its shots, especially when you're overlooking some of the planets from orbit
Mhm.
and some of the star alignment. But also just like the shapes of the ships themselves too, and some of the way that they get that done. Some of those shots, like it would have just seemed like I don't know on a smaller screen, it would have seemed fine, but I don't think it would have grabbed me in the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I think they intended for what you were looking at to be bigger than you to
Um.
get them to get each like message across. You know?
Mhm. It's funny 'cause like I talked to my dad to about this film, like about Dune, because he doesn't really like well, he watches a lot of films, but we don't usually share the same number one every time each year. But he actually
Yeah.
shares Dune as his number one as well, 'cause he just thought like the sci-fi elements like was just so perfect, and like the characters were just so well written, and like and and it's funny 'cause he said this to me and I agreed with him too. Like he made Denis Villeneuve and cinematographer Craig Fraser, they made bland colors look pretty.
Yeah, it's true. Which is, yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, actually.
That's what my dad said to me, and I'm like, I agree with that.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a really good way of putting it,
They
and that
really,
takes talent.
that really did make those colors, those muted colors, look amazing, though. Like, holy fuck. Like, every shot was a painting frame.
Yeah.
And it's similar to, like, how Blade Runner 2049, I felt like every shot in that film was a painting. Oh my god. Like,
Mhm.
oh, you saw Blade Runner 2049, right?
Not yet. I know.
Oh,
I've seen
dude.
enough to know what you're talking about. Just because honestly, the visuals is what. Because I haven't seen the original either, but the visuals from just the trailers and one clip that I saw was enough to get me interested.
Oh, dude, I'd say Blade Runner 2049 could be just as good as Dune, like, because this director just doesn't miss on his directing, man. Like, I don't know if you saw his other films like Prisoners,
I
En-
liked Prisoners a lot.
Enemy,
Yep.
Sicario,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
obviously Arrival, I mentioned.
Yep.
All great films. Like,
Yeah. So I have no reason to think that I won't like Blade Runner either. I just
yeah,
haven't.
you just
It's
haven't
like
seen
I
it
said,
yet.
yeah, long movies it can be kind of a hard sit for me
But
sometimes.
trust me, with long films though, like this, like Dune and Blade Runner, like it just
Uh-huh.
holds the attention so well. Like, oh my
Hmm.
god, I can't wait for Dune Part 2. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just give it to me already. Give it to
Put
me.
just put it in me. Yeah, ready for more. So
Alrighty.
very last thing I want to say
Okay.
is that the guy I can't pronounce his name, but the guy playing Paul was perfect casting.
Oh, Timothy Chalamet is amazing in this.
Chalamet, thank you. Yeah, I think he's great.
I really liked him in this film. I also thought Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica stood out too. Like I love Rebecca Ferguson and everything she's done, especially Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dune. What an epic. What a
Yep.
masterpiece.
Number one. I
Uh,
figured there was gonna be when we got closer to the top five. I was like, I mean,
we have some similar
it's gotta have
tastes.
Dune. Yeah, we gotta at least have Dune on there
We have
somewhere.
similar. Yeah, we had to mention it, and I knew it was gonna
Hmm.
be my number one. I mean, I fucking bought the movie when it came out in 4K Blu-ray day one. So I
Nice.
mean, it's something when I have to do that.
And you know what? Something tells me that when we talk about our next list, there's gonna be some common ground there too.
Oh, alrighty. So I'm gonna take this Dune poster off the list here then.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're up to the worst films list now. Now, I'm just
Yep.
gonna say this up front. The first half of this list, I'm gonna say I don't fully hate these films. I just think they're disappointing in most aspects.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There is
I'm kind
some
of that.
there is
My
some things
first
to like.
three. My first three are that way too.
Yeah, the first I think there's some things to like about these films. In fact, there is some things I like about these films. It's just yeah, they're disappointing overall, and I don't feel like I could watch it again. Essentially.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
do you wanna go first this time?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go first. Yeah. My number 10 is Old.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So if this was a list of worst acting like performances of the year, this would be much higher on the list because oh my god, is it so absolutely painful to sit through. Like the internet likes to use the word cringe
Yeah.
around to the point where the word cringe doesn't mean anything anymore. This is the actual definition of cringe. It actually hurts to watch these people acting. But kind of like what you were saying, it didn't necessarily, I didn't outright hate it. I was bored it a couple of times, but for the most part, I was interested in the movie just in the sense of like, all right, well, what happens next? Because I think that this premise of the longer you spend on this island, the faster you age, or you just accelerated aging, I think they did everything that you possibly could with that premise,
Mhm.
which that's ultimately what kind of pulled me through the movie was I was kind of like, all right, well, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? And Shyamalan is good at that kind of stuff. He is good at teasing, a the next question, the next riddle, in a way that doesn't feel like Star Trek Into Darkness, which I hated that movie. Um, but yeah, it's borderline so bad it's good. Like I could almost respect somebody for putting it as number one on a worst list of all time. And that's just not the direction that I'm going with mine. So my number 10 is Old.
I actually did see this one in theaters as well. I actually didn't hate it as much as you did. I actually thought there was enjoyable moments in this one.
Hmm.
I thought, and I always appreciate an original idea from M. Night Shyamalan at least. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
sure, like you can say so much about his films, but I at least appreciate what he does. He self-finances his films too, so it's like it's not like he's
Hmm.
taking anybody's money or anything like
No.
that. So it's like I appreciate that. And while it's not his best film for sure, I don't definitely think that either. I do think there was a lot to appreciate with Old, and I definitely liked some aspects of Old personally as well. I was
Yeah.
intrigued all the way through it, at least,
Yeah.
to say the
Yeah. Yeah.
least.
Hmm.
Um,
Or worse, I was also intrigued all the way through.
yeah. At
Yeah.
best, I was intrigued. At worst, it was pretty cringe in the acting.
Yeah, and like it does leave you like if you're watching this is kind of like with Malignant, like everybody has something to say about it. Like
Yeah.
you can have a
Every
conversation with people about that premise.
and I see a lot of people saw a lot of people talking about this film when it came out actually. So it had
Mm-hmm.
some things to say. Like
Yep.
whether
Yeah.
you liked it or not, I will see the next M Night film, whatever he does next, considering he does a lot of good he does original IPs.
Yeah.
So it definitely
Yeah.
was better than Glass, I'll tell you that much.
Oh shoot, I still haven't seen Glass. Well, maybe I
uh
don't need to see it.
well, I still would see it if you see the art two films like Spin Unbreakable, but yeah, fair to be disappointed with that one.
Saw the first two, you might as well see the third.
Third.
If you like Unbreakable and Split, you gotta finish it. Okay, what's yours?
Number 10 is The Tomorrow War. That was from Amazon Prime. It's a
Ew,
Christopher.
you saw that, huh?
I did see it.
Ah,
Now
you're a strong man.
let me just
You're
say
a
this.
strong,
Let me just
strong
say
man.
this. There was
Okay,
definitely some enjoyable aspects in it. Like the
sure.
action, like the alien designs were actually pretty cool looking. Like I will say that. Like
All
the
right.
action was good too. It was well directed.
Mhm.
And I actually did like some of the supporting cast. Sam Richardson, who's been actor who I've been keeping my eye on, was also in Werewolves Within, which I also liked this year.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
would recommend that one. I should have mentioned that on my honorable mentions too, but
Mm.
and he's also in this show called The After Party by Chris Lord and Chris Miller and Phil
Oh,
Lord.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
I'm vaguely familiar with that.
I really love the After Party, and he's great in that show. So he's great in this movie. This was the first thing I saw him in.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, he's in it with Chris Pratt,
Yeah.
who I just don't think fits this type of role that well. He just plays the same guy over and over again. The
Mhm.
whole
Yeah.
jokey. Oops. Oops, I accidentally unplugged my mic because I talked about Chris Pratt.
I thought I went deaf. I was like, "Oh no." But yeah, I could definitely he sticking with the same shtick. It gets old. The Ken Jeong like talking ghetto shtick
uh,
gets old,
it's just
and now
like,
yeah.
yeah, I used to like Chris Pratt a lot in films, like I mean, I still like him in some films, like the Lego movie's fantastic and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, I'm gonna watch the next one. Like I love Guardians of the Galaxy, but
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I'm thinking I'm getting tired of his shtick too, man. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing grabbing me about him anymore. And like
Yeah.
this film definitely proves that like I don't think he can carry an action movie personally, like an action sci-fi movie. And it
Yeah.
sucks cuz like there is some good aspects. Like I said, like the supporting cast was good. Like I thought J.K. Simmons is in this too. He's actually not that bad in it either.
Mm.
So, yeah, unfortunately it's just bogged down by some bad writing and Chris Pratt.
Miscasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
What's your number 9?
Well, my number 9 is Spiral
Oh, we're definitely going to
from the
talk about
Book
that.
of Saw.
Oh, I have that one too
Um.
in my list,
Yeah.
but that's later
That
on.
that movie is a pretty big piece of shit. Like, it's lower on my list. Like I said, the first few were just kind of disappointing, and I did think it was bad. But I personally was more disappointed because I like the idea of Saw becoming an anthology. I really like taking the same killer and just doing different things with it every time. That part intrigued me. I was really interested in seeing it not just being rebooted because we have to trudge up money again, but also because we have a new idea. We have some, and there was a couple of ideas sprinkled in there that got me to sit up for a second, only for me to eventually slouch back in my seat and just cuddle up with a blanket and just kind of not care anymore. Um, Also, um, Chris Rock, just because you can't get work anymore as stand up because you're disconnected from the new generation doesn't mean that we want to hear your old, retired, exhausted stand up that you just don't get to use anymore in your self-funded horror movie.
It's just yeah,
It's so weird to sit here and listen to like calling people like, "Oh, thanks a lot, Twilight." I'm like, that joke wouldn't have even worked in like 2017 or 2015.
I just
Like,
yeah, I have
it's
more
not
to
even a joke. It's not even a joke.
I also have this film on my list later on, but yeah, this
So I'll let you get into it when you get to it. The last thing I want to say is also, the Saw movies always have like a twist to them, like a
like
Tales from the
yeah.
Crypt kind of twist or something like that to trick the audience. Because the first movie has a really good one.
Mhm.
This one's twist, I was like, go fuck yourself. No one is that stupid to actually fall for because it revol. I don't want to spoil. I don't care. Um, they make you think that somebody is dead, and they go, "Oh, see, they've got the tattoo on the body." They're like, "It's got the same tattoo, so it must be the same guy." And then it turns out later that it's a different guy, and they just tattooed him like the same mark on this fake
Yeah.
guy. But it's like, I know how tattoos work. I know that when you get them, your body heals because that's what your body does. You can't tattoo a dead body and have it heal properly. Like, it'll scar like crazy. It might not, like, it won't even come out right. I'm like, I'm not that stupid. So I don't appreciate when this stupid movie that isn't that smart to begin with thinks I'm so stupid that I'm just gonna buy this. And especially, I'm like, that's the big hook of the movie. Like, that's supposed to be represent a big twist in the movie. It's not even like a little thing. It's pretty important. I'm like, God Damn it! Why did I give this movie the time of day? You go. What's your number 9? I'm done talking about this stupid thing.
uh,
God.
so number 9, number 9 for me is also another film that I didn't consider bad. It's just more so disappointing to me.
Uh-huh.
Black Widow. I was
Mm,
pretty disappointed in Black Widow. Like,
mm.
like the first time I saw it, I was actually, that's not too bad. And the second time I watched it, I was like, it doesn't really stick that well when you second time watch it. Cause like, I do think there is good aspects of this film. Like, Florence Pugh is very good in this film. Like, I love Florence Pugh in this.
Kind of steals the show.
She does steal the show,
Yeah.
and like some of the action is well directed, but then there's also
Yeah.
the fake looking green screen and like
Oh my
that's
God.
so fake looking. Oh my god. Like
It reminds me of what was the last X-Men movie that they
oh,
the
the
Phoenix?
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. It reminds me of Dark Phoenix where I'm like, I
Uh,
can see the green
green
outline.
screen.
You didn't even I have an excuse because this isn't my job. When I don't key things out properly, I can shrug and say, it's just a hobby. You motherfucker, you're getting paid so much.
This is a two
Why
hundred
does it look
million
this
dollar
bad?
movie.
Why
Uh,
does it look this bad?
I know, dude. Like, and like, I just thought the story was kind of generic and like, it's like generic spy stuff. And the way they handled Taskmaster too, I just didn't like as well. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
they really screwed that up.
I don't know, man. Like, it wasn't a memorable film to me that much. Not that I didn't think it was bad or anything like that. I just felt like compared to the rest of the MCU, it doesn't really stand out to me.
Which is unfortunate because of all the crap that surrounded, like it got delayed so many
It
times, and then
did.
you finally see it, and you're like,
It was okay.
really? This is it?
It was
This is
okay.
this is what we were waiting for this whole time?
Yeah, that's how I felt. It
Hmm,
was okay.
okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that inflection. That's good.
All right. That's all I have to say on Black Widow, though.
Okay.
Again, not my favorite. Definitely not my favorite MCU film, but it's,
No.
yeah. What's your
And then,
number
and
8? Oh yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say the Taskmaster thing. Like, I don't care that you flip the gender of Taskmaster. I don't like seeing. I know that he can do more than that. I know that you nerfed him. You made
Mhm.
him into a nothing,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
what I didn't
boring.
like too.
Yeah. My number. We're on 8, right?
Yes.
My number 8 is Willy's Wonderland.
Oh,
Ugh.
I actually had this on my list for a while on the bottom too. I moved it up a bit because I saw worse films, I felt like. But
Yeah.
actually, I was also a little disappointed in this too, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because
because
like, yeah.
they sell you so hard on crazy Nicolas Cage fighting Chuck E. Cheese. Cool. I'm into that. And then you see it and you're like, the fights are like 2 seconds, and sometimes you can barely even see what's going on. The rest of the movie is shitty teen actors on the same set, basically. Like, there are sometimes where genuinely I'm like, there's supposed to be a passage of time here, and it kind of just looks like you turned on the lights and called it good. Like, that's not a passage of time. It's definitely one of the cheaper looking movies that I saw this year.
I was pretty disappointed, a little disappointed in this one too, because I was like expecting more. Considering it was like it
Mm-hmm.
was almost selling like you said, it was selling like a Five Nights at Freddy's Nicolas Cage. It could have been so cool. Like it could have been fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they just didn't go far enough with it, and now it looks like it was chopped down, and it feels neutered. It
I,
feels, if we're talking about
yeah,
Taskmaster, it feels like it was pulled back.
I don't mean to sound rude and stuff like that, but it did look like it was just made with like $500, and that was
It's
it.
true. Well, no, it's honestly like it feels like a lot of the money probably went to Nicolas Cage because he's Nicolas Cage. And then, like, I think that one of the stupid teens in the movie is like a YouTube star or
I think so.
something who
Yeah.
probably just I don't know. I don't want to
Yeah.
slander
Yeah.
people, but like it clearly didn't cost very much because again, like there's 2 sets, maybe.
Yeah.
And again, the fight scenes cost money because you gotta rehearse
Yeah.
it, you gotta
Choreograph.
length it out, you gotta choreograph it, and then there's the man hours doing it, and then there's editing it, and like it takes money to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, the training dojo scene in the first Matrix took like what was it, 8 months? It was
It
only
took a
supposed to take a couple.
long time, man.
It took almost a year just to do that one scene, but it paid off because it looks awesome. And then in this, it's like the fights are over in a second. Like you could literally miss it if you look away at your
It
phone,
literally
which you will do because it's boring.
it literally looked like it was done in a second. Like they just rehearsed it for a second, and then that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was disappointing. Yeah, that was
Yep.
pretty disappointing.
All right. What's
Before I
your
before I get to 8, I just gotta use the restroom real quick. Quick bathroom break.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna
quick
stretch.
5 minute bathroom break, guys.
Yeah. Smoke them if you got them. What?
All right, back from the bathroom break now.
Well,
Oh, so
yeah,
you
I
want
got
to
my
know my? You said you
little
want to know
sippy
my?
sip.
You want to know my number 8, huh? You want to know my number
Yeah,
8?
what's your number eight?
All right, my number 8 is The Conjuring 3.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, get into it. What do
Oh,
what do you know
you
about this
want to
movie?
know what I know
Tell
about
me,
this?
no, tell me about this movie.
It wasn't scary, man. It was so not scary. Like, ah,
Your starting point for a horror movie is
it,
to be scary.
and it's not. Like, I wasn't scared at
If you
all.
fail that, what was the point of your movie?
And like and like I said, like listen, I love the actors involved in this movie. Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, highly talented actors. Um,
Sure.
like they were great in this film, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if the film isn't scary or like
Yeah.
it doesn't do anything to affect you. Like I watched this
Mm-hmm.
in theaters with my parents as well at my family because we're all Conjuring fans.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of left wondering it wasn't that great, was it? And like, I realized, I looked it up. It wasn't made by James Wan. It was
Yep.
it was made by the Annabelle and Nun director, and I'm like, oh, makes sense now. Why it
Uh-huh.
wasn't scary.
Yep. Switched hands on you.
I didn't even see those films, and I was like, oh, I can see why I didn't want to see those films. It was so disappointing, man. As someone who's a big fan of the first two Conjuring films, it really disappointed me. Like, and the story just wasn't that interesting compared to the first two either. Like the case wasn't that good. Like the case in the beginning was more interesting than the actual case.
You know what's funny is that I actually felt that way about the first Conjuring also, even though I really like the first Conjuring. I think that's a very good movie. But the little vignette of the of the doll in the way that when the movie started left me really uncomfortable for a long time after I saw
Mhm.
that movie.
Mhm. And this film just does not do that at all. It does
Nope.
not make you feel comfortable. It's just a bunch of jump scares, honestly. It's not even that scary.
No. It's kind of what you're talking about in your top 10 best. It's like getting under your skin does more to affect you than jumping out and saying
And,
boo.
and that's why, and yeah, going back with the amusement park, that's why I want in a horror film to get under my skin, and this
Hmm.
didn't. It just made me feel like I want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Ah, disappointing to say the least, man. All right, what's your number 7?
All right. Well, listen. Sometimes you just know from the trailer that the movie is gonna be bad and you just write it off
Mhm.
and you say, nah, I ain't gonna mess with that. That ain't my thing. So This one is my fault. My number 7 is the Addams Family 2. Why did I watch this movie? Eh, I had 9 on my list and I needed another one. So maybe I went into it with not the greatest mindset, but I was still devoting an hour and a half to watch it. I was open to it changing my mind. Boy, did it not. Boy, did it not. This is the kind of
Oh.
kids movie that makes me worried that, because I briefly touched on a belief that I have that when you're a kid and you're watching movies, they do have some kind of impact on you, even to like a small degree. Um, this is the kind of movie that makes me worried a little bit. This is not a movie for kids. This is a movie for like really little kids. Like basically, like you may as well just be jingling keys in their face to keep them entertained because they're not actually retaining any information. They just need something to look at, and really when you're watching it, it kind of feels that way. There's a scene in the Grand Canyon where they're talking about stupid plot stuff that I know is going to come back later, and I can already see how they're doing it, but they're laying the groundwork, right? Mid sentence, Pugsley jumps up on top of like a guardrail and starts orchestrating like he's a maestro, and the Grand Canyon just starts blowing up,
What the
and then
fuck?
they leave.
What the
And I can't stress enough to you, there was no scene of him laying out dynamite or that he was planning anything. I forgot he was in the scene. He just starts doing it and stuff starts blowing up because I guess we've been talking for too long and kids don't like talking. Or at least according to this movie's viewpoint, kids can't stand talking because it's boring, so blow up things. Yay! And that's basically the movie. It's just little kid pandering.
Yeah, I didn't see this one or the first one for that matter.
You don't
Uh,
need to see the first one either.
yeah, I have no interest honestly to see both of these because I also saw the trailers for them and I just thought this doesn't really look that good, man.
Yeah.
And like it definitely doesn't compare to Raw Julia or anything like that.
It's true. Like the first movie arguably didn't really need see the live action one, like you could argue like, oh yeah, well they didn't really need villains in that movie. I don't really know why they were there, but they're there to introduce Fester back into the family.
Yeah.
Like it would be kind of weird if he just showed up
And just
and that was it.
like that's it. Like but there's a
And you know what?
point.
Yeah, and also they wrap up those villains in like what 11, 12 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
They introduce villains into the one I saw, the animated one. They introduce the villains in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then they follow them through the whole thing. And then there's more villains later. I'm like, why do we need this? I don't know that we need. Isn't it just interesting enough to see the Adamses
Yeah,
bouncing off
exactly.
of like quote unquote normal society? To kind of show that they're not as weird as you think. They're just different than you.
Mhm.
I would think that that message would actually be more impactful now than it was when we were kids. But
Mhm.
I guess we're not interested in doing that. I guess we're just interested in fart jokes and playing I Will Survive, ironically.
Oh my god, that's
Uh,
very overplayed in kids
yes.
films.
All right, so what do you
Are
got for
you
7?
you want to know 7?
Mm-hmm.
Lucky number 7 or unlucky number
Number
7 for
7.
this?
Yeah.
Unlucky number 7 is oh wait, why is the Tomorrow War appearing again? Oops, I accidentally put Tomorrow War again on the list by accident. Where's that poster I had for this one? Oh, it's right there. What the frick? All right, let's see here. Why is it all the way there now? Oh, whatever. I'm sorry. I'm just like wondering why is my list all screwed up now? Hmm. Okay, well I have my number 7 pick. You want to know my number 7 pick?
Yeah, hit me.
It's Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead. Oh, with Dave Bautista and the gentleman from Mortal Kombat. Yes,
Yes.
yes, I know who you're talking. The movie
Yes,
you're talking about.
that's the
Yeah,
song.
I
Yeah.
almost watched that. Tell me about it.
Um, man, I was very disappointed in this one. Like, I wasn't again, like, not like a terrible film. Like, it's actually there's some well-made things in it. Like,
Hmm.
I actually don't hate Zack Snyder as a director. I actually think there's some good films he's did, like 300,
Sure.
Watchmen. I think
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, of course, yeah. But man, oh man, the stupidity of characters in this. Oh my god, it just gives me a headache.
Is that
Like,
the one that has like is basically like ripping off of Aliens? Because I heard somebody saying that Zack Snyder's new movie is just
somewhat,
carbon
yeah,
copying
yeah,
Aliens.
somewhat. And it's like, it's the character decisions are just so idiotic, man. Oh my god, it'll roll your eyes.
It's hard to get invested into a movie, even a stupid one, when the characters are supposed to be real, but they are are too stupid to survive. How long is the movie?
It's almost 2.5 hours.
Oh God, yeah, that'd be a slog.
Yeah, I was. It's funny because I saw this in theaters. Actually, I didn't see it on Netflix first. I saw it in the movie theater premiere.
Mm,
Um, and I liked it at first, and then when I watched it again, I was like, oh my goodness, there's actually a lot of stupidity in the character writing and stuff like that.
hmm.
Yeah.
It it kind of feels like. Do you ever feel like when characters in a movie do something stupid? Do you ever feel like the people making the movie were like, well, they have to do it because otherwise X, Y, and Z doesn't happen.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Do you ever
Yeah.
feel like they're like, well, I know it's stupid, but if we don't, I can't figure out another way for the later things to happen. So I don't know. That always feels artificial to me.
It's so stupid in my opinion.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I even it's on Netflix, I still don't recommend it. You're gonna waste your time if you don't like bad character writing.
Can't even recommend it for free.
I can't. I'm sorry, Zack Snyder. I love you. I can recommend Justice League on HBO Max, but I can't recommend this.
Sure.
I can't recommend
I
this.
I guess Netflix isn't free. I guess you still have to pay for it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, this is pretty disappointing, especially as a zombie fan too. Like I love zombie media when it's good. All right, hit me with your number 6, man.
All
Hit
right.
me it.
Well, now we're gonna start getting some shit for me.
Shit.
My number 6 is F9. This was
uh,
the first movie I thought of when we suggested doing this list. Um, I knew that I was gonna talk about like some things that just kind of disappointed me and some like dishonorable mentions, which we should talk about before we get to the number one. We should talk about our dishonorable mentions. But F9 for me, like I know that this series is not for me. I am not the key demographic. I understand that, but like that just means that all the more I can see it. I think I can see it more for what it actually is, which is just boring.
I actually do have this on my list as well later on as well.
Mm,
We we
I
we
figured.
we talked about this at length on our spoiler podcast review as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And for that reason, maybe we'll just hit like the big points with it and move
Uh-huh.
on because we can just say, "Hey, go check out our previous episode where we talked about it in detail." But like me and my fiance each watched a
I
half
saw
of
your
this
guys'
movie
video. I saw your
and
guys'
then
video.
sat down and tried to make sense of it, and like we honestly we got confused because she would talk about characters that I had never seen in my half of the movie, and the same way backwards, where it's like, so the structure of the movie doesn't matter then because because it's just like it doesn't make any sense. Nothing pays off because they don't set anything up, and it's too long. God damn.
Man, yeah. Oh, I have this all later on my list too, but I saw your
Sure.
video and it was hilarious, man. Like when you rolled your eyes at the Tyrese movie line. When if this was a
Oh
movie,
my god. If
dude,
this was a movie,
that
I'm like,
fucking also was such a terrible writing choice. I was like, what are you
shut
doing?
up with that. Get that out of there.
Oh, oh
It
man.
strikes me as like fan fiction writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's so
Yeah.
bad. Like
Yeah.
it's so bad. All
How are
right,
these yahoos making like
$1 billion.
quadruple digit dollars and we're the clown shoes over here on YouTube, like making chicken scratch. Like, I'm not
I
saying I'm
know,
more
right?
talented. I'm not saying I'm more talented than them. I'm saying that they're not talented. God damn it! All right, what's your number 6?
Number 6 is The Little Things.
I have
Uh,
no idea what you're talking about.
oh, you don't know what this is? Oh, this came out
No.
very early on in the year. Actually, it was a January film. Fuck you, it's January.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You had to get at least one in there. That makes sense.
It's funny because like it didn't seem like a fuck you, it's January movie. Because guess who stars in it? Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. That's a
Really?
that's a cast, right? That's a good
Yeah.
cast.
That's an expensive
It's an
cast.
expensive cast. The problem was that it was so bogged down by its ending. Like, I thought the film was actually not badly made, like, in terms of the direction and the cinematography, but the ending, oh my god. The most idiotic writing I've seen ever. Like, an ending can really fuck up a movie, in my opinion, honestly. If a movie can really piss you off in its third act, then it did something wrong, like very wrong. And this movie did that, unfortunately. It had good acting from the cast, but man, that third act, especially.
Really? Yeah, I mean the third act is what people leave on. That's the what's going to leave the taste in their mouth, and if it's bitter, then that's all they're going to remember.
I watched this with my mom too, and we just left. She doesn't really question a lot of things too in movies, but we looked at each other at the ending like, really?
Was she like, why did X, Y? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
exactly what
okay.
happened. It's on HBO Max. It actually premiered on HBO Max. It was one of the first like same day premiere things for movies. But yeah, it very much disappointed me too. I'm gonna say disappointing a lot in this list, but just the cast. Like you think with that cast it would be so good, right? Like I just named off those three big names, but
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. Unfortunately.
Bummer. Okay.
It was like a true detective style too. Could have been so good. Could have been so good.
Really?
Yeah.
Denzel and like a detective? Oh, I'd be super into that.
Yeah, exactly. It could
Dude,
have
you're
been.
bumming me out.
I know, man. I know. It bummed me out too.
Huh. Well, damn. Maybe I'll just watch the trailer or something just to get
Just,
kind of an
you
idea of
could
what they
watch
were
the
going
trailer.
for.
You could watch the trailer and just see what they were going for. But yeah, the third
Yeah.
act just really bummed me out. That's why I have
Hmm.
it on my list.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
All right, verse 5.
Oh, yeah.
What's your 5?
Um, we'll still be friends after this, right?
I think so. I
That's not reassuring at
don't
all.
know. What's your 5?
My number 5 is The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh no!
I, I,
Okay. Well, let me put it on the poster real quick, and we'll
yeah,
talk about it. We'll talk about it,
we'll talk about it.
cause
I,
I had
I,
this earlier. I had this on my top
uh-huh.
10 of best.
Yep. And I sat back in my seat like, uh-oh, uh-oh.
Uh,
Oh no. We're gonna have
I
words.
knew this was gonna be a divisive movie from the
We're gonna have
start. Yeah, I
words.
knew
Okay,
it. Okay, talk.
yeah.
Hit me.
Okay. Here's the thing. All the things that you like about it and that I like about it, like I do still like a lot of things about the movie. It's if I was gonna put it into like a simple phrase, the movie is very much like for me is a quality versus quantity. There were several things about it that I liked. The things I didn't like, I really didn't like, and that ended up weighing out more and putting it on the if that makes sense. If you can imagine like a scale,
Yeah.
you know. I liked Keanu Reeves. I liked a lot of the visuals. I liked the whole the first third of the movie, setting up with him possibly losing his mind. It kind of reminds me of in the
Yeah.
Animatrix,
Yeah.
the kid's story. It reminded me a little bit of that,
Oh,
and it actually kind of it's funny because in the kid's story, it's Neo that saves him, and I liked seeing like as someone who really dug the Matrix growing up. I liked seeing almost kind of like that mirror, almost like history repeating itself, like on a loop, very much like the Data does. So I thought that was really cool. I liked Neil Patrick Harris's performance. I like the idea of when a human being is struggling and going through trauma, they exert more energy and increasing the machine's productivity. I liked that aspect of it. I liked a lot of things about the movie, but the things I didn't like were big problems that I had. Namely, you can just stand out in the open, completely unguarded and unaware you're being shot at, and it's fine. You'll never get shot. No one can shoot anyone in these movies, which ended up making me feel like there's not a lot of tension in the action. When it came to the fisticuffs, a little bit more. Especially Smith and Neo have a
Yeah,
fight.
that the bathroom
Uh,
scene.
the bathroom scene. Yeah, that was probably my favorite fight in the movie. But even then, I'm like, a lot of the action, like the hand to hand
It's
action, I'm like,
very quick cut editing,
it's very
unfortunately.
quick cut. And a big part of like the originals definitely had a lot of love for Hong Kong cinema and martial arts films. This doesn't.
It's
If I
definitely
can just
yeah,
put
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
plainly,
It's
it
apparent.
definitely doesn't.
It's definitely apparent it's not the same editor as the first three films or anything like
That
that.
too. Yeah, it's definitely cut differently. Um,
Which I mean, yeah, it's
I knew it
unfortunate.
was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be different than the original. I wasn't going into it expecting it to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
But there were the things that caught me off guard as being the biggest differences were the things that I was counting on the most to be there, which is wide action or wide shots of the action. I wanted to see um the agents coming back, and
Mhm.
they didn't. Instead, they have this like horde mode thing, which I was like, I mean, I guess it's cheaper and easier to render CGI people running around than it is to
Yeah,
choreograph a
yeah.
whole fight scene, but I kind of liked the whole fight scene. And I don't begrudge either of the actors that played the new Smith or the new Morpheus.
Mhm.
They You can't expect them to be the same thing
They're
again.
they're not Lawrence Fishburne or Hugo Weaving.
No, and again, also I expected new things, but I didn't get any. I don't really remember what they were going for. They didn't. I didn't feel like they were ever properly established. Smith character maybe a little bit more so
Mhm.
than the other guy, but like also like just visually like looking at it, I was like, I I miss the green tint when they're in the Matrix. Um, all the crap with Niobe, I was like, I honestly I've seen the movie twice. I can't tell you anything that happens in that section. I did not care. I did not care at all. And then it's like a weird heist movie, which again, like I don't mind it being different. I just it shouldn't leave me with this many mixed emotions, I
I see what you
guess.
mean, and I knew it was gonna be a divisive film, like from the start. Like
Yeah.
I
I don't
knew
I
it.
don't hate it because like there are good things to like about it. I like the twist at the end that they do with the one. I think that was cool. And I'm sure after we're done recording, I'll think of other little things that I liked. But again, it's the quality, it's that the things I didn't like meant more to
Yeah,
me.
it stood out more to you. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I totally get it. And like I said, I had it on my list of for the best.
Hmm.
I definitely understand its flaws too. Like the action definitely wasn't the best at all. But I just yeah, I personally really liked it as well. But I understand your complaints too with it as well. Like there's definitely flaws that I can see.
And there's definitely good things to like. See how
Yeah, I
we
know,
can
right?
disagree on things?
Mhm.
Still be friends, right?
Yes, we are. You want to hear my number five, man? You want to hear
Yeah, what's your
number
number
five?
5?
Number five is Halloween Kills.
Really? Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we talked about
Yeah.
this at length already. I don't want to go
That
too
movie
much
can go
into it.
straight to hell.
Um, yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it, but since we already talked about it in our podcast as well, but
Hmm.
fuck this one, man. Like just the amount of idiotic characters, like I said, and the whole good evil dies tonight. Got so fucking tiring, man. Like,
Hmm.
shut up. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it because I already ranted enough about it. But yeah, Halloween Kills was highly, highly disappointing as a sequel to the 2018 one, which I really actually liked too. So it was
Hmm.
very disappointing. That's it for me. What's your number four?
Okay. Uh, I I'm laughing because I'm looking at my list in front of me. It's like I kind of to remind myself what's coming up next, the points I
Uh,
want to hit, and I look at what's coming up next, and I'm like, oh, this one hurts. I really didn't want to not like this movie.
but you still
I
put it.
really, I really wanted this to be a thing. My number 4 is Mortal Kombat 2021.
Oh.
Like
Ah.
equal amounts frustration and disappointment, where like it kind of mirrors Matrix Resurrections, where I'm like, I mean, there are things about it I like, and it's a bummer, but the things that I don't like, it's just that there's more of them. There's more things I dislike, where I'm like, why are so many characters introduced? I know nothing about them, and then they're just killed off. It reminds me of Annihilation, honestly, because they introduced like in the crappy sequel from the '90s. They throw like Mataro, Smoke, Night, all these new characters at you, and then they're just gone
Yeah.
like immediately or
Yeah.
almost immediately. This one they stick around a little bit more, but not as much. Like I didn't even know that was Reiko in the movie, but like it goes outside of fan issues too. Like you could definitely like make the comparison of like, Star Wars fans will never be happy. Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat fans will never be happy. And I agree with that to a certain degree. But I have this movie on my list because there are just so many things about it from a creative standpoint. And I'm writing an essay on this movie, so I'm not going to give away too much of my thoughts on it right
Mhm.
now. I'm going to save it for that. But there are so many aspects of the movie that are so close to being better than they are, but they just don't do it. Like they were almost there with so many elements, and I think that's why people responded positively to the movie is
Mhm.
because they do get so close that it feels good enough. But I think if they just put like 20% more effort and then like maybe a little more money into the movie, I think it could have turned out way better. And like especially like you mentioned like crappy editing or like good editing when we talk about Shang-Chi. Boy, is this movie the opposite of that because it is hard to tell what's going on.
Sometimes, yeah, it is very
And
hard to tell.
specifically the ones there's some that are fine, but specifically I think of Sonya versus
Oh,
Melina.
yeah, that's the worst offender of it all.
That's the worst one. And I compared that and versus when ironically Sonya and Melina fight in the crappy sequel from the 90s,
Oh,
Annihilation.
yeah, I remember that.
And I'm still like, I can still tell what's going on easier in this one than in the newer one.
That
How is
is,
that? How
yeah.
does that work out? Like, and
uh,
I don't blame um oh shoot, what's the actor's real name? Not Cole, because I think that's the character's
oh,
name.
Louis Tan. That's the.
Louis Tan. He's actually he is a good actor and he's a good performer, but he has nothing to work with. He's basically just walking around asking questions,
Yeah.
like just what, where are we? It's like that scene from The Matrix when there's a scene where Keanu Reeves is asking like they're first introducing the Sentinels.
Yes.
And in that whole scene, literally every line that Keanu Reeves has is a question. And I don't mind that for a scene every now and then, because we do have to have things explained to
We
the
have
audience.
exposition is a thing, yeah.
Yes, and that's okay. In light touches, Mortal Kombat 2021, the whole movie is just that.
When do we get
He
to the tournament? Are we getting to the tournament?
and yes, and I'm okay with taking some time building up to the tournament, but I just don't give a damn about this new guy. Like I know he's supposed to be our audience surrogate, but honestly, Kano is a better surrogate than he is because Kano is entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I have to say that was also my biggest flaw too. Cole was the biggest flaw of the movie.
Hmm.
He was just bland written and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
personally thought the movie itself was actually pretty decent for a video game adaptation. Like I was a little more lenient than you were towards it. We're in case you didn't know, we're both Mortal Kombat fans. We play each other in Mortal
Yes.
Kombat 11 all the time. So we talk Mortal Kombat religiously, and we know this shit. We love Mortal Kombat. Like we know when lore comes out and movies come out. So Yeah, I will say there was definitely some disappointing aspects with this film. The editing for sure was terrible in some aspects, and the Cole character was very bland.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think even people that really liked the movie kind of agree that the protagonist
it's bland
is
as
not
fuck. Yeah,
leaves something to be desired.
yeah,
Yeah, but unfortunately, like a lot of the other characters around him don't, except for Kano. A lot of the other characters in the movie don't do much to hold the movie up. You know, it's okay to have someone like in the Last Starfighter or in the Matrix, or you know, a fish out of water character is okay to have as long as the people around them are still engaging, but
exactly.
they're
This one is
not.
not.
Kano, like what was that post of the actor playing Kano broke his back because he was trying to hold up the
Oh
movie
yeah,
by
that's
himself.
funny. That's
Yeah,
funny.
he is like one of the best parts.
He
But
is one of
yeah,
the best parts. Um,
I'll stop there because I could talk about this movie for a
at
while.
least there's a sequel coming. I am more optimistic about sequel stuff.
Yes, I agree, especially because now that Cole is established, maybe we could actually develop him a little bit and give
Mhm.
him something to do. That
Yeah.
would actually be really cool. I'm not opposed to new MK characters. I just need them to be interesting.
Compelling. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Or yeah. So that's your number four, Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Before I go to my number four, I'm just gonna take another bathroom break. I have a small bladder.
Okay, you're good.
A quick few
I'm gonna get some.
minutes, you guys.
I'm gonna get some coffee.
All right.
Wash your hands. Okay, that was too long of a pause.
I was trying to understand what you were saying at first, but then I was like, "Oh, you said wash your hands." I was like, "Yes, I washed my hands."
All right.
I first,
Uh, what?
I was like trying to understand process what you're saying.
Oh,
That was
gotcha.
funny.
Okay.
So wait, number four for me, is that it?
Yes. Yeah.
Number four. Oh, you want to know my number four?
Yeah.
Right. Coming to America 2.
Okay.
So, I just I was kind of looking forward to this because I love the first Coming to America. Like Eddie Murphy, classic.
Mhm.
Like I just love classic Eddie Murphy comedies. Like
Mhm.
he's hilarious. Like
Beverly Hills Cop.
he is hilarious. Like I
Yeah.
thought he was hilarious at the time, and I think he still is. Like I thought a couple years ago there was a film on Netflix he did called Dolomite Is My Name, and that was
That
very
movie's
good.
great.
It was
Yeah.
great. So that's why I was also kind of looking forward to this one because it was by the same director and writer. So I was like, oh, okay, then it could be good. This sequel then. Boy, was it not. It was just not
Yeesh.
funny. Like I just it just felt like Eddie Murphy was sleeping through it. Honestly, like I don't mean to say that. Like he's a great talented comedian, but man, I did not see the energy compared to like his classic movie.
Mhm.
And like I actually thought Arsenio Hall did a much better job as a co-lead compared to him, because
Mhm. Interesting.
I love Arsenio Hall. He's very
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, he is.
He's this movie was just not funny, man. Like the goal of a comedy movie is to be funny. It wasn't. It maybe got a chuckle out of two of me, but most of the time, honestly, do you know Leslie Jones is in this movie and all she does is shout, and I'm just like
Shame.
that.
That's a waste of Leslie Jones.
I'm just like, okay, you're really just gonna do this like similar to Ghostbusters, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just not funny. Like it's unfortunate because I thought Dolomite Was My Name was funny, and I thought that had a touching story too. But this felt like a total cash grab. And we'll talk about cash grabs later on. But yeah,
Yeah, we got to wrap things up. You got to go soon.
but yeah, it's fine. The Coming to America 2, yeah, didn't like it that much, sadly.
Fair enough.
What's your number
Um,
three, man?
my number 3 is Halloween Kills.
Oh, you also have Halloween Kills on the list.
Yeah, I have it in my top 3 just because of like how egregiously stupid it is. Like just how brain dead, on the rails, paint by numbers stupid it is. Like there's no actual plot to it. And the only thing that they set up with like the mob and the mob mentality aspect, they pretty much are done with that at the halfway mark, and then the movie has nothing to do but fart around for the remaining 45 minutes of the movie. The the dialogue is so useless, like, and the structure is so useless. You could honestly just cut it in any other order, and it except for the last scene, and it makes perfect sense, for as much sense as it did before. It
Yikes.
especially coming off of the last one, which I thought I was going to hate and ended up really liking. This one feels like an insult to the last one, and
Uh,
like we'll I don't again. We've got another episode where we dive into details. We can talk about that then, or if you want to hear us, you can talk about it in that episode. But like, I was frustrated with the movie 30 minutes in.
yeah, it was just that was the best word to describe it. Frustrating all the way through because it's just like, oh, there's so much potential after the last one. It's like, ugh, and then they
Yeah.
squandered it. Is it number three for me now?
Yes.
Is it number three? Okay. We already talked about this one briefly. It was Spiral.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, what a
Yeah.
disappointment. What? Not just a disappointment, just a bad movie, man. Like,
Hmm.
I want to describe Chris Rock in one sentence because he also wrote this movie too.
He did.
He ain't no Jordan Peele.
No, he is not.
he,
No.
like, I'm sorry, man. This was just not good. Like, yeah.
I'm open to comedians. Comedians have written good horror before, but like, it's not Chris Rock.
And nope. I don't really have much to say either because you already nailed the ones that I had to say about this movie with the twists being stupid and shit like that.
Hmm.
But even the traps weren't even that satisfying. Like the traps weren't even
No,
that cool to that from I
no,
remembered.
no. And those are like these were pretty big set pieces before, and now they're just kind of like, whatever. This kind of feels like we have to have
Yeah.
it in here. The last thing I'll kind of throw in there that we didn't talk about before is how stupid annoying the new like Jigsaw voice filter is.
Oh my god, yeah.
He sounds bored.
Yeah, he sounded bored, dude. It's like, what the hell?
Dear detective,
You do
whatever, whatever. You
Detective
have
Banks.
until this time. Good luck. Make your choice. I'm like, God, he sounds like he's gonna talk me through how to like reset my default settings on my phone. For fuck's sake. Could you be less intimidating? God.
It's bad. I thought it
Yeah.
was bad. Yeah, I have nothing else to say really about it because
Nope.
you've gone on to the head with it too. All right. So where are we at now? Number two. Ooh,
Oh boy. The
where,
big
give me
ones.
1 second. I'm just adjusting the posters here.
Sure.
So we're to the two big ones now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just adjust this one, adjust that one. Yeah, I'm just moving over across stuff so I can fit in all the posters here. All right, hit me with your number two.
Oh, this might surprise you. My number 2 is Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Does not surprise me.
Yeah. Wow. Like, you want to talk about a product? You want to talk about something with no actual value other than to just drive up stock numbers? Jesus Christ. And like, this is one of those movies that makes me feel bad. Like, I'm a judgmental person because you see and you hear other people really dig in the movie, and you have this moment of like, or I have this moment of like, are these people crazy? Like, am I smarter than all these other people? And then you catch yourself thinking, you're like, ew, I don't like thinking like that. That's a bad thing to think.
Mhm.
But I'm like, I don't see how you can possibly enjoy this pandering, dumb, stupid crap.
Hey, guess what? I have a number two as well.
Is it really?
Yes,
Nice. Yeah,
it's
okay, yeah, yeah.
this. It's essentially tied as number one, but I'll get to my number one later on. But oh my
Mhm.
fucking god, have I ever seen a movie so idiotic and the god? I've never been so angry towards a movie, man. Like I've never been this angry towards a movie, but I legit got out a bottle of vodka during the time because I never really done that.
Mhm.
But oh my god, I felt like I needed it because this is a piece of shit marketing spree. It feels like, man.
Yeah, it's a marketing spree. It's you're being. It kind of reminds me of like the joy people have of watching Super Bowl ads, except there's no creativity
There really
involved in
isn't.
it.
This at least with Super Bowl ads, they're short and they have some creativity. This is two
Mhm.
hours long and there's no creativity in screen
Whatsoever.
whatsoever.
Yeah, they just want you to clap at the things that you know.
Talking about it alone just pisses me off
Hmm.
because I'm just like to think that the first Space Jam was also technically commercial, but it would still have charm to it. Like there was still charm to it. This is
Yeah.
a total cash grab, like from the start to finish. Like LeBron James isn't a good actor whatsoever. He clearly sleepwalks this throughout. They clearly paid Don Cheadle a lot of money just to act out a CGI character of himself in this.
It's not even basketball.
It's not. It's not
How
even
do you screw that up?
basketball. Oh my god!
How
I
do
should have
you
mentioned that. There's no basketball.
how do you screw up a Space Jam movie? Well, take out the basketball. Okay. Well, why are you making the movie again? I don't care if Michael Jordan's not in it. Like again, like you can have there are other basketball athletes other than Michael Jordan. That's fine, but you still got to have the basketball. God.
It's a terrible movie, and I cannot even comprehend the first time I watched it. I can't even watch it again, dude. Like it's that
Hmm.
bad. Like I can't watch it
Hmm.
again. Like the fucking pointless cameos of Clockwork Orange and like a bunch of those inappropriate communities. It's
Hmm.
like how is this appropriate for a kids movie? Like you think
How did this get in here?
like you think that like I'm seriously seeing I saw people on Twitter thinking like you remember when we talked about something on the podcast like oh it's just a kids movie like people are saying it's like do kids
That
deserve
doesn't mean it has to be
yeah
stupid.
it doesn't mean it has to be stupid like come on guys like this is dumb this is not even fun dumb this is just dumb.
Hmm.
Whoo didn't even get to number one yet but we're gonna get to yours now.
Well, real quick, just gonna fire off a couple of dishonorable mentions.
Okay.
Um, Luca, because it's not really about anything. It's like a slice of life anime, which is fine. I like slice of life anime, but it's a Pixar movie. I kind of expect it to be better. Godzilla versus Kong. Uh, it being about two giant monsters doesn't mean that the movie has to be written like shit. You can still try and make a movie about two monsters fighting, because guess what? There are good movies about that. Um, and then Cruella, which is one of the most needlessly pointless movies I've ever seen in my life. But Emma Stone is also really good in it, so
That's interesting. I actually liked Cruella quite a bit. It was in my top, one of
it
my
got
top.
better as it went along, and I liked the soundtrack. But like the origin of like, oh my god, Dalmatians killed her. But I'm like, shut up. That's the
Yeah,
stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I
I
will
don't need this
say,
movie.
at least it's not a remake, which I
Yes.
appreciate a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and that was actually one of the things I thought of when I was like, well, I don't think I could really put it on the top 10. I think it's still something that I didn't need to see, but it's not one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Mhm. I want to give one dishonorable mention as well, real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
This isn't really a movie I didn't dislike,
Hmm.
but I did think overall when I thought about it, it was a bit underwhelming to say the least.
Hmm.
It was Eternals. Um, I
Oh, yeah.
I listen. I enjoyed some aspects of this movie, but overall, like when compared to the other director's film, like Nomadland, it was pretty disappointing compared to Nomadland. Like Nomadland had like meaning, had like a special meaning to it. Because it's directed by Chloe Zhao, who won the Oscar for it actually. So Yeah, and then she moved on to Marvel Eternals, and I was actually looking forward to Eternals, but sadly it kind of got bogged down by some lazy writing, I felt like, in some parts, and some of the character decisions I just felt were just unbelievable at some points. It looked gorgeous though, and the action was well shot for the most part.
Yeah.
And Angelina Jolie was quite good in it, actually. I liked Angelina Jolie a lot. Um, that's my only dishonorable mention. I didn't put on the list just because I did enjoy some aspects of it, like I said. But yeah, that's my dishonorable mention.
Okay.
What's the number
So
one, man?
my number one is Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City.
Oh shit. That's interesting because you know what's funny? I actually bought this movie on 4K the other day. Um
I just every element, or there's at least one element in each of the other 9 movies I've talked about that is present in this movie. The bad acting from Old is in here. The cheap effects from Willy's Wonderland and the set design is in here. The shitty writing from F9 is in here. The gratuitous gore that sometimes isn't super necessary is in from Halloween Kills is in here. Like it's all just kind of smushed together for me, and I just can't stand it. I
it's
don't think there was a single thing that I liked about the movie. From the word go, I said, oh no, we have a problem because this movie looks like ass. But maybe the characters will be okay. Nope. And I think it's salt to the wound because the director for it shit on all the Paul W.S. Anderson movies for being inaccurate to the games, and he was touting that I'm going to make a Resident Evil that's more faithful to the games. I'm like, okay, so then why did you write all of the characters to be terrible? Why are they nothing like their game interpretations? Like Leon's a scaredy piss boy who doesn't understand anything. Jill is a hotshot that shoots first and asks. She's a hothead. Wesker wears plaid. Why is all of this like it honestly and like it feels like a fan fiction. It feels like a fan film. It reminds me of Detective Pikachu, but at least Detective Pikachu has some heart to it. It feels like a fan film, but I can tell that they actually liked Pokemon. With this, I'm like they're shooting guns and I'm like the smoke from the guns looks like a like green screen like filter from like YouTube. If you will go to YouTube and type bullet smoke green screen effect, it looks like that. It doesn't even look like it's real. I'm like, why does this look so cheap? And it isn't even faithful to the game because it takes place at the same time. Okay, I'm getting mad.
I have a confession. I actually did see this movie as well. I bought it on 4K because I actually didn't mind it that much. There were some aspects I enjoyed. Some. I'm not gonna say
Mm.
all. Some. I did enjoy it a little bit more than the Paul Anderson ones, even though I will say the first Paul Anderson one is actually pretty decent, as if you treat it as its own thing.
Yeah, it's actually it's a decent zombie flick.
So, yeah, I bought it on 4K. I somewhat enjoy. I actually kind of like the John Carpenter-esque style it had with the title cards and stuff like that. Because the director also pointed out that he was also a John Carpenter fan. So I'm like, okay, I kind of like that. But I see what you mean, though. There was so much bad writing in this movie. Holy crap, man. Like, the bad writing in the characters. Like,
They have to stop every 10 seconds to remind you what time it is. I'm like, and some of the time I'm like, it's literally only been 9 minutes. I don't need a timestamp for 9 minutes.
also, I don't. Also, they just insult Leon in this movie, man. They treat him like
Oh
shit.
yeah, he
Uh,
got
th-
it
and
bad.
I was like, oh,
Like the
really?
Paul W. Anderson ones didn't get Leon right either, but he was such a background character that it almost didn't matter. In this, he feels like an extra that we just happen to know his name.
I don't. Yeah, they did some really weird stuff with the characters here, honestly. But
There's no establishing anything. They just are banking on the fact that you know these people and you're just going in on the marquee value. But it's like, in good writing, I should be able to know who they are without any prior knowledge.
Yeah. Weird movie it was, but I was entertained at least, but it didn't seem like you were. So
I was like seething. I was honestly more frustrated with it than Space Jam. Because with Space Jam I had a bingo card and I was making fun of it and I was having a good time. And I knew going in that it was going to be somewhat of a product. I was still blown out of my mind how much of a shameful cash grab it was. But with Resident Evil, I was like, I feel like you just made. I mean, he did want to be more faithful to the games, but I'm also. It has that distinct feeling of like, did you make this just to retain the rights to Resident Evil so that you could say that you're still doing something with it?
I
So it
also
doesn't feel
yeah.
like you. It doesn't feel like you tried all that hard.
Mhm. Yeah. So that's your number one Resident
That's my
Evil.
number one. Your
Welcome
turn.
back. Woo!
What
Okay.
you got? What
And
you got?
what I got? Oh, you already know it, baby. Fast 9. It's all about family, baby.
Oh yeah, I
it's
respect that choice. I respect that
all
choice
about.
so hard.
Oh my god, dude. We were just talking about action movies, like how they're edited and like how they should be made, like I just think a good action movie stands out like something like John Wick or like, something like Terminator 2, that's more classic. Like, all these directors like with those films take their time to craft at least a singular sequence that'll be at least memorable to the viewer for maximum impact, And it's like with Terminator 2, you get that with like the truck chase when John Connor's getting truck chased.
Yeah.
With John Wick, you get that with the club chase, with the club shootout.
Hmm.
What do you get in Fast 9? What?
Even I'll take it down a notch even further than that. And there are completely stupid trash action movies that still leave more of it, like Crank
Yeah.
leaves more of an impact, and that's one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen in my life. Even still, to this day, one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen. And yet it still has more going on than F9. F9 is hollow.
Dude, I just like literally there's a scene when we described this in the podcast where Vin Diesel literally pulls on chains to bring down a building. How the fuck is that possible? Like, what? What? And
Yeah.
and then he drives underwater. You remember the car heavens?
Oh my god, the car heaven. It really like it screams of like
Pretend
really expensive
it's honestly
film.
pretentious at that
It
point.
is pretentious. Yes, it's film student kind of work just with a Hollywood budget.
I'm just like, this is so much like the wet dream that the Fast producers and crew were just like, oh, we should just throw every crazy shit we can think about with space and shit like that, It doesn't make any single fucking sense. You
Mhm.
if there it okay, I understand fast movies don't make sense, but this is just getting to the point where it just doesn't make sense literally, like
I can't
because
even get excited.
yeah, you can't even get excited because like at least with something like with the first Fast and Furious movie, for example, there's excitement with that simple chase scene, like because it
Hmm.
was well competently shot.
Yeah.
With this, it just feels like they're just going for every crazy CGI fest you can think of, and it's like,
Well, they don't feel
no.
like humans
Yeah,
because
they
they
just
can do
feel like,
such crazy shit.
are they stronger than the MCU heroes? Or like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
At least there's an excuse in Crank when he does superhuman stuff
I
because
know
he's pumped up with
with like that,
uh,
yeah,
unrealistic juice. It's fine.
but
Or
yeah,
Hardcore Henry is another good example.
Hardcore Henry is actually quite good. And that's a very creative film that I
Mhm.
appreciate. Unlike Fast 9,
Yeah, I would
dude.
not recommend it if you have motion sickness, but other than that, yeah, it is very well done.
Um, Fast. Oh my God, this movie is so stupid. They had the audacity to call this the Fast Saga. Fucking shit, dude. Like,
Yeah,
why?
pretentious.
Uh,
Pretentious is the
and
perfect
then
term for it.
they also had to go with Part 10 being a two-parter film. Like, how pretentious could you be? You're not a
Like you're the Deathly Hollows or
you're not a
something.
novel, goddammit. You're fucking Fast and Furious.
Even Twilight didn't deserve that, and it was at least still a book first.
I I honestly am I'm honestly tired of Fast and Furious now at this point, and I don't
Yeah.
think I can watch the next one honestly at this point.
Like give it the satisfaction. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to give it the satisfaction. But yep, Fast 9, my number one.
Cool.
Some people probably knew that. You probably knew that already, Caleb. But yeah, so bad.
Building up to it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Well, cool.
well, we got through the list of
It's
our
set in
best
stone
and
now.
worst. It's set in
You can't back
stone.
down.
Well, that was a great time for talking about all
Yeah.
these films. Thank you for joining me on this great and long episode today.
Well, thank you for having
Did
me.
you have any like surprises on the list that from my list, or did you like did you feel any surprises from the lists at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that some of your worst ones were so much like some of mine were lower, like Spiral and
They were
or
higher, right?
F9. Yeah.
Yeah, these films are just so incompetently made, man. It's just like some films just don't know how to be films in a way. But then
Yeah.
there also are films that we just talked about that are true cinema that you can watch,
Mhm.
like Dune.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely watch Dune.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again, that's someone guy, Caleb, for joining me on
Yeah.
list. Where can they find you again on the social media?
On that Samoan guy, the if you find the couple goals playthroughs, that's us as well. I have a Twitter. It's just that Samoan guy. Yeah. That and that's it.
Yep, you can also subscribe here for One Take Podcast. More episodes here. We're definitely gonna do some more in the future. You can also find me on Twitter at my real name at Rag. And I hope you guys are staying safe out there. Later on today, I'm actually gonna go see the Uncharted movie. You'll see my Twitter review of that. Stay tuned for that. Yeah. So I hope you guys stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time on the next episode. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
we'll see you guys in a year when we do this again.
I know, right? We'll see you guys next year.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.